How has the presumptive number one overall pick changed the business of the Dallas Mavericks? We'll jump into all that and more coming up next on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Krella. We, of course, are DLLS Mavs. Appreciate you joining us here on this terrific Thursday. How has the presumptive number one overall pick, Cooper Flagg, changed the business of the Dallas Mavericks? Mavericks CEO Rick Welts discussing that yesterday. We'll jump into that. Plus, a little bit later on in our show, we will grade the seasons of both Daniel Gafford and Dereck Lively and talk a little Klay Thompson as well as the NBA Finals. Half of it being set.
Let's go,
last night. Tim Cato, what's going on? How we feeling?
I'm doing fantastic. I love to see Luke waking up at 3 a.m. just to watch a little DLLS Mavs.
Just woke up at 3 a.m., so I thought I should join my favorite guys discussing my favorite team, Mark Stein. Shout out to Luke.
For a lot of Mavs fans, the Mavs are their favorite team again after winning the lottery.
It's very much
Times
so.
are good. Vibes are high once again. Still problems to solve, but it's just so nice. You know, we're about, 2-3 weeks past winning the lottery, and it's just been a very pleasant 2 to 3 weeks. It was a very unpleasant 2 to 3 months, and it is much nicer to live in this reality than the one that we used to inhabit.
And we got a lot to talk about today when it comes to the Mavericks having the number one overall pick. Mavericks CEO Rick Welts speaking yesterday at the Wall Street Journal Future is Everything conference in New York City. Had some interesting quotes discussing not only the business of the Dallas Mavericks when it comes to a potential new arena coming down the pike in the next several years, but also how the business of the franchise has changed with the Mavericks winning the lottery and presumptively taking Cooper Flagg. Tanner, let's start with the very first quote that jumped out to me. According to Mavericks CEO, this is courtesy of the Dallas Morning News. Thank you, Brad Townsend. According to Mavericks CEO Rick Welts, the team generated $7 million in new season ticket sales in the first 3 days after fans learned that Dallas will have the ability to select consensus number one pick Cooper Flagg of Duke. Business sounds like it's booming once again. When the Mavericks found out that they were winning the number one overall pick, $7 million in new ticket sales, I'm sure is music to the ears of a franchise that has dealt with a lot in the wake of the Luka Doncic trade. But obviously winning the number one overall pick has changed the fortunes, not just for the franchise on the court, but clearly off the court from a business perspective as well.
Yeah, to contextualize that a little bit, $7 million in 3 days. I mean, obviously that's a lot of money, $7 million a lot. The Mavs, I'm not going to give you the specific number, but I worked for the Mavs for a long time, and there were numbers that they had to reach in terms of ticket sales and revenue and all that. It's many, 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 many times higher than that, in the tens of millions or even the however many figures it would be, hundreds of millions.
Could you give us like what that number rhymes with?
I don't know. Numbers are really hard to rhyme with.
Could you whisper it to me, and then I definitely won't say it.
So the
totally I won't.
The goal that they want to hit is more than 10 times higher than that. Granted, a lot of that they had already retained. Rick Welts had previously said that retention from year to year was around 75% after the trade, and this is after the regular season before winning the lottery. And so for them to have generated $7 million more in sales just in the first 3 days after the lottery is getting closer to 80 or in the mid 80s. They want to be at 100%. Obviously, apparently now there is a wait list again, whereas before they were kind of burning through the wait list trying to get people to buy. So you're definitely restocking the cupboards a little bit, and that's important because I want to get on my soapbox and play a little defense here for my former coworkers. A lot of am I putting the cart before the horse?
No,
Are we showing that quote later?
No, you got it. Go ahead.
Okay. a lot of the ticket sales people that worked for the Mavs heard a lot of really, really, really bad things and were emailed a lot of really, really, really bad, mean, and even sometimes threatening things in light of that trade. Those people have pretty low base salaries, and they rely on commission to make a living, to pay their rent, to put a roof over their heads and all that stuff. And so they needed something like this to happen in the worst way. Obviously, Mavs fans wanted something like this to happen too, because their team did something they hated, and we thought that they were going to be really bad, and now they might not be bad anymore. So, Cooper Flagg is the rising tide that's going to lift all boats, but a lot of people that work in that building had to put up with a lot of very, 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 very bad stuff in the days and weeks and months after that trade that was completely beyond their control, that was completely undeserved. And I'm very happy for them too, that they, that they don't have to deal with that anymore.
Rick Welts speaking to some of that as part of his quotes yesterday as well, again, courtesy of the Dallas Morning News, where he said in part, quote, a lot of fans who maybe had decided to not renew their tickets called back and kind of apologized to their ticket person what they had said to them when we made that trade and asked if perhaps those seats might be available again. It's just been incredible at every level of our business, end quote. Him also, Rick Welts, discussing the idea that he said, quote, I don't think there's ever been quite a reversal of fortune in our league, speaking from the time that the trade was happened to the time that the Mavericks obviously won the lottery. Tim, has been a incredible reversal of fortune for this franchise, but also fans now wanting to, those who have felt jaded by what happened with the trade, now feeling like there's obviously a ray of sunshine and hope, given the optimism that Cooper Flagg is coming to Dallas here.
I don't think most of what Rick Welts said here is a big deal. I think most of it is just correct and accurate. And yeah, you're going to make more money after you win the number 1 overall pick. That is the reality of business. It is the reality of a team that lost money is now going to pick up some more money because now there is a reason for excitement. This is all pretty obvious stuff. Again, I don't know, because Bobby won't whisper it in my ear, so I can tell you guys. I don't know, exactly what $7 million means to the base or how much money they lost before, all of it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I do know that if there's one thing that Rick Welts and a lot of the Mavericks keep doing, and I get why they do it, but I thought that quote specifically, tonally, reflected this. It's that something bad happened, and now, thank goodness, good stuff has happened to this team. Something bad happened. And most of the people who are speaking to what happened are not the people who made the decision to trade Luka, but the decision to trade Luka and the fallout that happened because of it was something that Dallas absolutely had control over, in the broader sense of their organization. The people, Nico Harrison running their organization was the person, who most decided to do it. It was greenlit by the ownership, et cetera, et cetera. It's when you say, I think the tone is just a little bit off when you're like, yeah, now the fans are coming back and apologize. It's kind of conflating.
What a reversal of fortune.
Mm-hmm. It's conflating two different things. To acknowledge that a lot of the employees had to deal with an unfair, out of the some unfair level of vitriol and verbal abuse over something they had absolutely no control over, and to say, I guess he's trying to indicate that sucked, and that did suck objectively, that these people who had to go through that is not something in their control. But first off, is it those same people? Are you just trying to conflate the two things? It's just, I don't think tonally he perfectly nailed that, but again, I don't think this stuff is really a big deal. I do think it's notable that Dallas as an organization is obviously trying to put some good publicity and put some people in front of microphones and be willing to talk about things. This was at a conference, so a little bit different, but Dallas is trying to recognize that things are better and they're doing what they can. But again, you gotta be able to nail this stuff. If you're going to choose to go on the PR, the positive PR spin, if you're going to go push the positive PR that came from this 1.8% chance, benefiting you exactly when you needed it to, I would just be extra careful that you're nailing the language. And a lot of that came to be oh, wow, great that you guys are back. Glad to say, it felt a little presumptive that, these guys were always going to come back, and, nice to see them finally, retreating from their stance that, Dallas was a fandom and a fan base that, their fandom was being affected by this. It felt like kind of looking like, oh yeah, you guys were just going through a phase. That's like, sorry, I've been trying to figure out. It did just tonally a little bit of what he said feels a little bit too much. It was like, yeah, glad you guys are out of that weird phase you were in, and welcome back.
I do like that he's defending his employees a little bit, though.
I like that. Again, I just think that he's kind of conflating two things into one.
Yeah, no, for
and like
sure.
Both
for
things,
sure.
things. You know, it's great for the team that people are coming back, and you know, it sucks for the employees.
Yeah, it's a very passive language of like, a thing was bad, a thing was done that was not liked by all, and now all of a sudden they all like us. Cool.
A Mavericks.
Like, well, who did the thing?
A Mavericks involved incident.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was a Mavs involved incident that just really ruffled some feathers, and now it's like all good again. Like, awesome. Let's just keep moving forward. It's not that simple.
Yeah, and Sarah says it too. It feels a little congratulatory.
Easy for you to say.
Well, clearly it wasn't easy for me to say. Stumbled over that one. There's too many syllables in that word.
I think what Cooper Flagg and his being drafted presumptively by the Dallas Mavericks offers this organization is a way to connect with fans once again and to genuinely do so. You have been given and granted the biggest lottery ticket in the history of this league in the wake of what happened in the trade. And now there's a chance to repair not only the relationship with the fan base, but also strike a new tone going forward about how you will ensure that the fan base is able to embrace the organization and vice versa, so that both parties can move forward in the kind of relationship that allows fans to feel good about the organization that they're cheering for. And yes, I know folks will have continuous concerns about the person who is running the front office in terms of Nico Harrison, but at the same time, the organization with the opportunity to draft Cooper Flagg has that chance and should take full advantage of it by meeting the fans where they are, given all the things that they have been able to come out on the other side of in the wake of that trade. I think that is the opportunity that this presents them going forward.
It also gives you the latitude to be able to like acknowledge what happened because you have cover now. So like, for example, in the little team museum that's in the practice facility, this is not open to the public, but it did strike a nasty chord with me because it's so important for me to, for a very long time, I was curating the franchise's history.
2 seconds more context on that. That thing is either seen by Mavs employees and it's also seen by the media.
Yeah. And
the media means that it's going to be publicized. The Mavs employees means that it's an eternal thing that, you know, either behind closed doors, you're erasing something that, like, you know, even you, team employee, you shouldn't even be thinking about Luka at this point. Or it's done, you know, if you take it the other perspective and they're thinking about it more as something that is open to the media, then it's being taken as something that is going to be put out publicly. Like, either reason it got removed from that section, even though it's behind closed doors, neither of them like really check out with me at all. Yeah,
no, for sure. And it did not. That did not sit right with me. I don't feel like the Mavs organization as a whole, and some of this is criticism directed toward the former owner himself. I don't think there's been a lot of great care taken to acknowledge the history of this franchise. And so for the team to just completely get rid of, like, it was called the Magic era or whatever, the Luka era stuff in their little bookshelf, that was bad. But now that it really is a new era, you have Cooper Flagg. It is a completely new era. Cooper Flagg and Anthony Davis, totally new. You can bring back and restore some of that Luka era stuff. It's not going to be a Luka monument because he plays for another team, but you can at least have some pictures of Luka in the era where you went to the finals thanks to Luka. Like, it's totally okay to do that. So being able to turn a new page doesn't just mean you're in something new, but you're also turning the page from something that was like a new chapter follows a previous.
You don't got to rip it out.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, no, exactly. So this does give them the ability to say this is something that happened. You can name it now. Like, the Luka era happened, but now it's a new era, and I think that symbolically that could have some meaning too.
You know what talking point I just remember from when Luka was first drafted, like his first year? Should the Mavericks rebrand?
Yes.
Are we gonna we I think as a show should bring that back. We should push this narrative.
Please do not make me talk about that. Please. That was my life for 5 years, 10 years. I don't want it. I will tell you though, this year is every 5th year is a Hardwood Classic year, and this is the 5th year. So if you want some green, you'll see some green this year.
Speaking of that trade, Rick Welts was obviously asked about the trade itself and what he remembers from that night. He said that he didn't know that the trade was coming until Mavericks Governor Patrick Dumont phoned him about 45 minutes before the news broke. Welts recounted the conversation saying, quote, this is Patrick Dumont, "Hey, Rick, we're going to make a trade." Rick, "Oh, okay, great. What are we doing?" "We're going to trade Luka to the Lakers." Welts with a chuckle, there's that word again, Quote, I'm like, who is this? Like, who is this? Really? End quote. So obviously that it was Rick Welts' reaction to the trade on that particular
I
night.
also found out from a phone call from you, KG.
I did call
Kevin
you.
called me with the most frantic tone in his voice I have ever heard anyone, and I was like, oh my God, something really bad happened.
Welts,
and what happened was actually worse than what I thought happened.
Welts thought he was getting sandered. He thought like some frat kid who was the son of an assistant GM of the Atlanta Falcons was calling him just to mess with him a little bit.
Look, man, when that night happened, I had just gotten home from Cosm watching the Royal Rumble. I was relaxing in my living room, about to go to bed. And then at 11, 12 p.m., my world was rocked. And clearly I decided to rock Bobby's world because that's the way we wound up.
I'm glad you called it. I would not have found out. It would have been several hours.
And then we were up until, 3 a.m.? Or at least I was up until 3 a.m.
I was up till 6 a.m. that night.
You stayed up till 6 a.m.?
Couldn't sleep. Everyone I'd ever met in my life was talking to me about this.
It was
a busy night, man.
Asleep. Like I think I slept like 5 to 9. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's a night we'll recount at some point down the road. Sarah, I'll get to your comment on the other side of the break because it has been hilarious. Let's take our first break here, though, on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, let's grade the seasons of Daniel Gafford and Dereck Lively II and what it means for the Mavericks franchise going forward. All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast. But like the Mavericks' future is bright, it is also that time of the year, and it's sunny outside. Our guy Bobby Krella is showing how bright it is with his pair of Shady Rays. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays, the independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all of your outdoor activities. Hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style and maybe in your team's favorite colors as well. If they go lost or missing, of course, Shady Rays has the lost or broken replacements, so you don't have to worry about it. Within 30 days, it's worry-free. There's no risk when you shop, and their team always has your back when it comes to personal and fast support. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people today.
Take your sunglasses with you to the lake or the pool this weekend, but don't forget your Rugged Road cooler as well. Rugged Road is dedicated to creating innovative and durable outdoor gear for adventurers who demand the best. Whether you're going to the pool, whether you're going to a hike, whether it's a lake day, whether you're just going to the park, you're going to need some cold bevies. You're going to need some cold Sammies. You're going to need some food. You're going to need some drink. You're going to want to hang out with your friends, and Rugged Road is the best tool for you. These things are floatable. They're always going to stay upright, so you're not going to lose your food in the bottom of the lake. They're lightweight, so even though they're going to keep your stuff cool for days and days and days, you can carry that around with you anywhere you want to go, unlike other heavy-duty coolers, which you need like a whole community of people to lift. These things are durable, and they are dependable. So gear up for your next adventure with Rugged Road coolers. Reliable, durable, and built to be used. Rugged Road is your ultimate outdoor companion. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use code DLLS for 10% off.
And when you save that money, you can also use that money to become a diehard member here at DLLS Sports.
That's right.
We've got our intro offer right now happening, $36 just through today. So make sure you go to alldlls.com/intro, become a diehard member today. Click that QR code. Point to that QR code for me, Bobby, if you can, will you?
After I finish cleaning my Shady Rays sunglasses.
Okay, there we go. You can click that QR code, become a diehard member. You get a free t-shirt as well when you sign up. Again, $36, our intro offer right now to join us here on our DLLS Sports family. We will grade the seasons of Daniel Gafford and Dereck Lively here in just a second. I do want to mention Sarah's comment because I thought it was hilarious. She said, quote, "Did y'all see people on Twitter yelling at KG specifically for talking about Luka too much? LMAO." You know what? I did. And I give people the free opportunity to follow me or not follow me, or I'll give you the opportunity to get blocked as well.
Oh, so, wow.
I appreciate all of you who support and provide feedback to this show. I'm talking to all of you.
KG said, come catch this fade.
Look, I can help you make it easy for you. Somebody was like, you know what? Can somebody cancel KG? I said, let me make it easy for you. And I replied to him, and then I blocked him. So look, man, you can come catch this work if you want to or not, but everything I say, I believe 100% with every fiber of my being. But I appreciate all of you who provide support for this show and feedback, whether it be in my mentions or on the show specifically, because we can't do this. I can't do this without you. So I sincerely appreciate you.
And if you get blocked by Kevin, just shoot me a message and I'll add you to the Victimized by Kevin Gray group chat that I am the moderator of. And we're hundreds, maybe even thousands strong at this point.
Yeah.
So any more support would be appreciated. We all have our story to share.
One thing I've learned in being in this business, if you have everyone agreeing with you, you are not doing this right. And I appreciate all those who loudly either voice their displeasure or their support when it comes to this show, me, or whatever.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about life is that everyone can disagree on stuff.
Yeah.
And the even more beautiful thing about that is you can respect people that don't think the same way as you do. So saying that everyone is too emotional, or saying that you need to move on or grow up or whatever, or saying some of the things that people in our chat were saying earlier this week, just really inappropriate, uncool. Just, live and let live, man.
I 100% agree.
Live and let live.
Yeah, that's my
Come
number one
on.
thing about this. My number two thing is agree with everything I say, but my number one thing is be respectful.
My number one thing is we have the best takes. My number two thing is be respectful about our incredible takes.
There's a
Please.
lot, Corbin, that I haven't, so don't worry about that. There's a lot of I haven't necessarily done that too. Let's talk about blocks, though, when it comes to the block party that is Dereck Lively II.
Oh,
and
my God.
You see that professional at work, at work. Let's talk about the seasons of Daniel Gafford and Dereck Lively II. Of course, one of them may be on the move this summer, maybe not. But at the same time, let's start with talking about Duke in terms of Cooper Flagg in our first segment. Let's start with the Duke product, Dereck Lively II, Tim Cato. Let's talk about the season that was for him in his sophomore year for the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, we did a fan survey 3 weeks ago. Feels like 3 months ago. Feels like 3 years ago. It came out. I published it the morning of the lottery, and then that completely changed everything. So we are very belatedly getting back to it. A much smaller sample size than most of these fan surveys go with. A lot of reasons for that. I fully expected that going in. But yeah, Dereck Lively. If we want to toss up his grades, Dereck Lively obviously had a very weird season and incomplete. Once again, might have been the best grade for him. I didn't give that option because I wanted people to actually put down a grade and see what they thought. So A and F are the slimmest responses. 18% gave Bs, 48% gave Cs, by far the most, and 25% gave Ds. And I think basically the way I would lay that out is the argument for B is that I thought, especially early in the year, that Dereck Lively had already improved, or he
was so good, man.
He was so good early in the year. He had maybe you could argue he wasn't that much improved, but all the improvement he had done very late in the year and throughout the postseason, he carried over into next season. Something he was where he was early in the year as compared to where he was at the start of his rookie season, just completely different. He totally dominant player. And, certainly seemed like he was even more on the ascension. I was really impressed with, he was switching out a lot more and doing a lot more of that. And I thought holding up really, really well. Still a great defensive force. And I thought here and there we saw bits of offense that, that part didn't rev up too much. But that's the argument for B. The argument for D is obviously just that these injury concerns are real. And unfortunately, they're probably not going away anytime soon. And it was something reflected by his season. So if you want to meet in the middle, and the majority of people did, I think a C is fair for that. But
availability is the most important ability. And so if you judge by that, then yeah, he had a bad season because he missed a lot of games. And that's been
only played 36 games last year.
Yeah, and only played 2 seasons, but has missed a lot of games. Has missed more games than he's played, I believe, including his rookie year. So that's tough. I think, and we kind of talked about this last week or the week before. I don't remember. We were talking about Daniel Gafford, and I feel like fans feel that Gafford's ability to create his own shot is more valuable than Lively's ability to essentially play off of Luka. If Luka's on the floor, Lively is better. If Kyrie's on the floor, Lively's better. But if neither is or only one is, then Gafford is better because you can run offense a little more through Gafford down low. And that is true, but I think on a better team that has better playmaking, Lively's ability to play with those guys is extremely valuable at both ends of the floor because he can switch and guard pretty much anybody on defense. And then on offense, he can run the floor. The Mavs want to play fast. And then also he can, set pretty good screens, roll. He has very long arms. There's a, big catch radius and lob target and all that stuff. And I think that is a more important skill set if you're optimizing your team around 2 playmakers, which the Mavs had an optimized roster around 2 playmakers. Now they don't. And so how he adjusts to that to make himself a valuable contributor, especially offensively, like defensively, I think is still going to be just as valuable as ever, if not more, with what they can do. But offensively, how can you make yourself valuable in ways that Daniel Gafford can whenever you don't have these guys, to set screens and rolls for?
Last year, Dereck Lively II averaging 8.7 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, 1.6 blocks per game, shot 70.2% from the field in what was 36 games played for him this past season over the course of his first 2 years, having played 91 games for the Dallas Mavericks. And for one of the things that I love about Dereck Lively in his game, the defensive versatility that he can provide and what that will mean for him going forward in his growth as a player. Offensively, we've seen some flashes, whether it be his ability to have a little bit more touch around the basket. I would love to see that continue to grow for him within 5 feet with some nice baby hooks, something that can...
He did develop, yeah.
Yeah.
That was definitely
automatic. Even with the left hand, like it's just, and he's only 21 or whatever, like,
yeah, there are
stay healthy.
Leaps and bounds for his game to still grow, and as Bobby mentioned, the health being the biggest portion of that. Hopefully, going in the next year, what that means for him to be a real contributor going forward for this franchise. His running mate Daniel Gafford last year also had a nice season for the Dallas Mavericks when he was available and healthy to play. Obviously, he missed significant time due to the MCL sprain. But, Tim, let's talk about Daniel Gafford and his season from last year.
Overwhelmingly, people voted B, about 52% of people. 24% said C, 19% said A. The rest were D's and F's. D seems really harsh.
More C than A.
I'm a little surprised by that, too, even though I'd kind of agree. I don't think that Daniel Gafford did anything last season that would push him from thinking that he's a playoff liability to all of a sudden being someone that Dallas could rely on, in that setting. I thought he improved a little bit. I thought he showed that he could be a little bit more dominant against those weaker matchups, creating his own shot. It's just not something that is gonna work. It's not gonna work against teams with the best bigs in the NBA. It's not gonna work against a team like Oklahoma City. There's just no way that all those hands swiping down is something that I trust Gafford to reliably generate offense from. So,
but that's why I think he's so good as a backup center, and maybe the best backup big in, I guess, Naz Reid, but outside of Naz Reid, maybe the best backup big in the league, because you want players. I know that you want players that can play in the playoffs. That's the number one thing. But really, unless you just nail a bunch of picks in a row, you're probably only going to have even the best teams are only going to have 6 or 7 guys that you're totally throw them out there in a playoff series. They're going to be fine. You need guys that can make the regular season easy, because you have to get to the playoffs in order to get to the finals. And for a team, especially like the Mavs, especially the Luka era Mavs, they had a reputation for kind of taking it easy sometimes against bad teams. And bad teams, when Daniel Gafford eats,
that's right.
He doesn't look at the Hornets and sees man, do we really have to do that?
He's not mailing it in.
He looks at the Hornets and he's like, food. He's chicken. He's barbecue chicken. That's what he sees. And so that to me is extremely valuable. It's not extremely valuable to me in a 5-year, $100 million contract. So there's levels to this or whatever, but yeah, I think giving him anything less than a B, even for as hard as I am on him at times, I think that's too harsh. I think he had a really good B or maybe even A season.
I think B was fair.
Yeah, last year Daniel Gafford 12.3 points per game, shot 70.2% from the field as well in 57 games played, averaged 1.8 blocks per game. Last year, that would have been top 10 in the NBA had he qualified as far as games played. In fact, both Dereck Lively and Daniel Gafford would have been near the top 10 both as far as blocks per game had they both qualified last year as far as games played. So you have a terrific tandem in terms of your center position with the defense that they both provide.
Can I interrupt? On a permanent basis, Daniel Gafford was the 5th leading scorer. Permanent basis, but on a permanent basis, he had the 5th most points per game. The top
the
3
Mavs or
on the Mavericks.
Okay.
The top 3: Luka, Kyrie, Anthony Davis. Can you guys guess number 4?
Brandon Williams?
No, he was 6th.
Oh,
on a permanent basis, who had the most points?
Jaden Hardy.
for the Dallas Mavericks. It was Moses Brown.
Oh, let's go. Let's go, Moses.
Yeah.
Shout out to Moses Brown, man. He came in here, did his thing, and rode off into the sunset. Appreciate him and his contribution.
We're not like Theo Pinson, man. Just putting up a monster.
Put up a monster number and
then just
rode off. Peaced out.
Averaged 31 points and 21 rebounds per 100 possessions.
Oh my God!
Per 100 possessions. 100 possessions.
Why are they giving him minutes?
Monster. Let's go. Coming up next on the DLLS Mavs podcast, let's grade the season of one Klay Thompson in his first season as a Dallas Maverick and what he contributed to this team. And a little bit later on, we'll discuss the NBA Conference Finals, where one team is headed to the finals, Lou Dort. We'll talk about that next on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
Your favorite teams need a home court advantage, a home ice advantage. Is that tonight?
Yes.
It is.
Okay. Well, the Dallas Stars really need a home ice advantage.
Ooh.
You know what else needs a home court advantage? Your home.
Mm.
It needs a home floor advantage from Empire Today, and Empire Today can help you get it. They have flooring experts. They have dedicated flooring professionals, focus on flooring every single day of their lives. Sure, you could go to the big box stores. They might have a flooring department, but you don't know where the person has been helping. You know, maybe he was doing sinks yesterday, light bulbs tomorrow, garden equipment the day after that. Empire Today is your best bet for a new floor because they live and breathe flooring, and they're going to be with you every step of the way. It's a whole different ballgame. With Empire Today, you get clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing, plus you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. DLLS listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code DLLS. Yes, you heard that right. A $350 discount with code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/DLLS for full details.
Stars fans, Game 5 is tonight. That's not a threat. Game 5 is tonight.
Gotta have it.
The copy tells me enjoying the game should be easy. I have to say these words, all right? Enjoying the game should be easy, so don't overthink it. What to wear? Toss on your luckiest jersey. If you wear anything that you wore during games 2, 3, or 4, this loss is on you. Put on your best stuff. Don't know what to serve your friends at this watch party you're going to have, or maybe you're going to even go to the game. Get some pizza from your favorite spot, problem solved, and grab some Bud Light to stock your fridge. It is just that easy, just like Bud Light, which is always brewed with 4 simple ingredients for a clean, crisp taste. Hopefully, this is going to be a clean, crisp win for the Stars tonight. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. Must be 21 or older to drink Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Let's talk about the season of one Klay Thompson, the 4-time NBA champion, played his first season with the Dallas Mavericks. And we're going to talk about what kind of season he had, as Klay Thompson averaged 14 points per game in what was for him 60. How many games did he play? As my computer messes up, we'll figure it out in a second. But let's talk about the grade of Klay Thompson, Tim Cato.
72 games.
72 games. There you go.
Klay Thompson, overwhelmingly, 49% of people voted B, 28% C, 13% A, and then another 9.5% mixed into D's and F's. I thought Klay Thompson, I think a B is pretty fair. I thought Klay Thompson was more or less who you thought he was going to be, and he was certainly pretty close to who I thought he was going to be. And the moments where he did not live up to those expectations were ones where he wasn't playing next to the roster that we expected. So when you consider all that, you know, he wasn't an every game closer, but he closed some games. There was never a storyline about the moments where he didn't close games. I can't think of a single time that came up, and that's a credit to him. Started all the games that he could start, and but yeah, he just came in here as a shooter, as somebody who is absolutely going to, take shots, just instantly the best shooter on the team. And absolutely, you could see the gravity. You could see the effect that he had. Of course, he was able to do it a little bit less as the team's playmaking creation faded and fell. But overall, I thought he was exactly what Dallas expected. And I guess the question is just, what comes next for him?
Klay Thompson, by the time we get to early February of 2026, will be 36 years old. One of the things that concerned me from him last year, because I thought for the most part, Klay did what we thought he was capable of. But this past season, he did shoot 41.2%. That's a full 2 percentage points lower than what he has shot in his career. In fact, this past season was the worst field goal percentage that he had overall as far as his career is concerned. And one of the things, Bobby, that does give me pause is the fact that the team that they've got assembled right now, you're depending on certain players who are in certain stages of their career. How much more does Klay Thompson have to give? I was encouraged by what he was able to in his first year. I do wonder what that does look like as we get more and more deeper into his career.
Yeah. I mean, he was definitely very limited off the dribble. Career low in free throw attempts per game. Second worst 2-point percentage in his career. Lowest since his second year. You know, he's always had that come off screen, and if they're overplaying the three, he can take like a 1-2 pull up. That shot was really just like not reliable for him at all this year. He would get in the lane and go to this kind of turnaround fadeaway, and he was always short on those. Like he struggled finishing around the rim a lot, got a shot blocked, or would just miss in traffic a lot. So, you know, that element of his game, as you age, that is just naturally going to fade with time. But the 3-point shot was still there. Got off to a pretty slow start, which Klay fans all told us to expect, and then turned it on and was pretty good from three for the rest of the year. But, you know, Klay more than, and this was true even in Golden State whenever he was at his very, very best, and he was one of the all-time best players. He needs to be set up. You know, he needs to be set up. And so of all the players on this team that struggled when Luka was hurt or when Kyrie was hurt or even when AD was hurt, Klay was like the chief among them. You know, he needs the table set. He needs the advantage. Klay doesn't necessarily create the advantage. He takes advantage of the advantage. He capitalizes on the advantage, whether that's being left open or forcing a defender to make a tough decision. Having Klay on the weak side while you got a couple Hall of Famers on the other side of the floor, that creates chaos, even if Klay is standing still. And the Mavs didn't implement a lot of movement shooting stuff for him because that's just not what they did with Luka and Kyrie. I'm curious to see if they do a little more of that now, if they're going to go double bigs and also have Cooper Flagg out there. You're going to need some movement somehow. So maybe it'll look a little different for him next year. But, yeah, I mean, I would say, like, Klay's own athletic limitations hurt him this year, but then also just, like, the environment he was playing in hurt him. But the Mavs didn't sign him, and he didn't come here to be the savior. He came here to be, like, a pretty good player on a really good team. The Mavs were not a really good team last year. He was still fine. He was a pretty good player, 54% effective field goal percent. He was fine. He was fine.
Over the past 3 seasons and the 3 to 10 feet range. So the floater zone, where we know Klay Thompson is not going to be someone who lives at the rim. A lot of times he's going to have to stop short of the rim when he is driving against a defense that's overplaying him. Last 3 seasons, he was about 50% there. Last season with the Mavericks, he was 38%. Huge difference. The biggest fallout out of all his numbers. Yes, he was a little bit worse in the 10 to 16 foot range, the 16 to the long twos, a little bit worse on all that stuff. That stuff isn't nearly as important to me. What really stood out in terms of the numbers is just that he doesn't have that same level of juice in the paint. If he's getting all the way to the, he can still get all the way to the rim sometimes, finish cuts and layups and, but just the inability to, a lot of it was that kind of turnaround floater, more of a jumper. But any sort of floaters, jumpers, anything in the lane was just not nearly as effective for him. And that's going to be something that is going to limit, his ceiling as an offensive player.
So many of those shots just felt forced too. But that's the thing. Like, he's not the kind of guy that should have to hunt shots. Like, he should just be spoon-fed good looks,
He's always kind of been that player, though.
He'll force
been
some stuff,
forced.
Yeah. But, like, he was really having to force it here.
Yeah.
He's trying to make stew out of whatever, because there's just no advantage. He's playing with no point guards, or there's no one is getting double-teamed. There's no empty space. There's no room to cut. There's no one setting off-ball screens for you, like, what are you going to do?
Wide open looks generated for him in a lot of ways at this stage.
This stage, if he's not going to be able to beat guys off the dribble, then you got to engineer ways to get him open. Otherwise, and his best looks came in transition, which is kind of to be expected. You get a lot of clean looks in transition. But in the half court, especially in the back half of the year, I mean, it was tough sledding for everybody, not just Klay.
And to get smart motion stuff where you're going to get, as Corbin mentions in the chat, the Warriors ran tons of stuff with Draymond. Draymond was that ball handler. He was that high post hub. Draymond is just a completely different level passer than Dereck Lively.
Mm-hmm.
And Dereck Lively wasn't around a lot of the season. And Dereck Lively is a different level of high post passer than Gafford or any of the centers they brought in temporarily. Hopefully Anthony Davis can be a little bit more to that level, but he's not Draymond Green. He's not that type of passer. So, that's how you get the most effective stuff out of motion offense, is that you have the ball inside the paint. Luka driving can go find catch and shoot guys. He's not going to find an intricate, a guy who's popping out for a three and then smashes the back cut. That's just not set up when your ball handler is, atop of the key, 30 feet from the rim. That's not, a pass that you can really realistically make. It's not a read or a cut that you can make. It is more effective when you do have high post stuff, which is why, again, these guys are not, Anthony Davis and Dereck Lively are not going to be Draymond Green level. But because the ball is going to be in their hands inside the arc, you're going to have a little bit more flexibility in terms of doing that. So we'll see how much it was environment and circumstance, or how much it just is that, Klay Thompson at this point of his career just isn't as able to do stuff like that.
It wasn't just Draymond though, too. It was also because they had Steph.
For sure.
It's basketball happens really, really fast, and the broadcast angles doesn't always get everything. But we could do this on the show. I almost said a bad word. If you pause it, if you go watch Warriors, like old Warriors highlights, from 3 years ago, and you pause it,
feels like a lifetime ago.
As Draymond is about to make a
pass,
pass,
in our 20s,
yeah, and before I just woke up with chronic back pain, right? As Klay is cutting, or as Klay is moving, or as Draymond is passing, pause it and look at where the defenders are looking. They're almost never looking at Klay. They're always looking at Steph. Or they're always looking at Klay and never looking at Steph. And so they're able to do all of these things that it's kind of, you're watching this game and it happens so quickly that you're like, oh, how do you get wide open? What a great cut. Yeah, I mean, it was a fine cut, but it's because five guys, including, the entire bench and the coaching staff and everyone was looking over here, and Klay cut right there. Yes. And that kind of thing is possible. It's not that Klay has Steph to thank for his entire career or whatever, but the Mavs don't have a player on their team without Kyrie right now that without the ball commands that level of respect to where you can create cutting lanes out of thin air and you can distract guys for no reason. They just don't have a player like that. The closest thing that they have to that right now is AD getting double teamed in the post. But the difference between AD being doubled in the post and the Warriors running a high split at the 3-point line with Draymond and Steph and some other Hall of Famer, Kevin Durant, is it's much harder to make plays from the post than it is from the middle of the floor. And AD is not as good of a passer as Gafford, and it's much more stagnant. A post-up is stagnant, whereas guys running off of handoffs and faking them and taking them and then twirling and doing it again and screening and rescreening, that's all movement. That's how the Pacers get guys wide open. They're always moving. Post-ups are very, very anti-movement. It's very stagnant, and Klay doesn't have that burst. So it's tough to get that.
Last season, including his time with the Lakers, Davis averaged he averaged 7 touches that drew double teams.
Per game?
Yeah, per game.
And that's not nothing, but
it's
there
notable.
are 100 possessions a game.
But it's also there are 10 players who draw more than that per game.
Yeah.
Including I was making a comparison. I was making a comparison to Orlando. Both Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero average about 10 per game.
Well,
now,
and
some of that's
with
their own space.
With AD too, teams are not going to just double him by default. He's got to get going before. It's not like Luka in 22-23 whenever the Mavs just kind of rolled out whoever out there. They would be double teaming Luka from the jump, whereas AD has to make a few shots in a row, has to assert dominance for an extended period of time in order to be double teamed, which means you have to spam that over and over and over again in order to create the advantage. And if he's not making the shots, you're not going to create the advantage, and you're also missing shots. So it's just so tough to get to that point, whereas the Warriors just walk in the gym, striking the fear of God into everyone's hearts.
Mm-hmm. Interesting note real quick before we go to bring on Klay Thompson's contract, an ascending one when it comes to his salary in terms of his cap hit. Next year we'll have a cap hit of over $16.6 million, and then in the final year of his deal, over $17.4 million.
Good for him.
In terms of his cap hit. So just a note to keep in mind as we move forward with Klay Thompson's contract. over the next couple of years and what that means for the Mavericks managing such salary cap for this team. Let's take our final break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, let's talk a little NBA Conference Finals. The Oklahoma City Thunder emphatically punching their ticket to the NBA Finals last night. Can the Indiana Pacers do the same on the road in New York? We'll get into it next on the DLLS Mavs podcast. But first, I want you to become a member of our DLLS Sports family, and the quickest way you can do that is become a diehard member. Right now, we've got our intro offer of $36 right now. If you go to alldlls.com/intro, you can join us here and get a free t-shirt of your choice when you become a diehard member. It's our start of summer sale. It's getting hot outside. We want you to have a nice, cool t-shirt, but we also want you to become part of our DLLS Sports family. Again, our intro offer of $36, normally $80, but now you can join us for $36 right now. Click the QR code that you see as you're watching us live here. Again, alldlls.com/intro, where you get access to our member-only Discord, 20% off events. We've got tremendous merchandise as well, and access to all the terrific writing of Jeff Wilson, who covers the Texas Rangers, Sean Shapiro and Sam Nestler covering the Dallas Stars, Clarence Hill Jr. and Joseph Hoyt covering your Dallas Cowboys. They're at OTAs right now as we speak, getting the latest news when it comes to America's team. And our guy Tim Cato covering the Dallas Mavericks, where he's got a new piece up that you've got to check out right now.
Yeah, I wrote about the headline is the Mavericks should have an incredible defense. The NBA has shown them that's not enough. Was it Friday? We kind of got talking about, just Dallas and in some comparisons I see with Orlando. Now, again, the pre-Kyrie Dallas next season that they know they're going into. A huge question this summer, as we keep talking about, is what type of creator, what type of playmaker they end up bringing into this team to, help make sure that the offense can still run and hum and doesn't look like Orlando's was last season. I think Dallas has a little bit more talent than them, but there's also some comparisons of, kind of close to one-to-one comparisons between, what some of these players can do, what some of the Orlando players can do, and, just making sure Dallas is still surviving and not suffering a similar fate. So, yeah, alldlls.com/diehard.
Become a diehard member today and join our DLLS Sports family. Let's finish up here on our show today. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow at 12 p.m. to finish up our week here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Shout out to Classic Stain Lover with the $4.99 super chat. KG, what section are you sitting at the Wings game on Saturday? Want to say hi and got to see Angel Reese in person. Well, number one, I don't have my ticket yet, so if you got some, let me know. You can help me score some tickets.
Game time?
That's right, game time. And also, Wings play tonight. They begin a home with the Chicago Sky. Our DLLS Wings podcast will be at 4 o'clock.
4 p.m. Central, that is 3 hours and some change from now.
Yeah, 4 p.m. Central today. Shout out to Erica Day, who's going to be hosting our show today as the Wings got their first win over the Connecticut Sun the other day in a battle of 0-4 teams. Wings got their first win. Paige Becker's fastest player.
Roadie.
Yeah, got a road win there. Paige Becker's fantastic in the win. They are an
actual Roadie, like R-O-T-Y, like Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, that's right.
I thought you were trying to do an abbreviation for road.
No.
That made it longer.
Yeah.
But they are in action tonight against the Chicago Sky, our DLLS Wings podcast, 4 p.m. today. Tell a friend who's a Wings fan or just a WNBA fan in general to hop in with us at 4 p.m. today. Speaking of basketball in action tonight, the Eastern Conference Finals take place where the Indiana Pacers are up 3-1 over the New York Knicks. Look to close it out. But before we get there, last night, the Oklahoma City Thunder reached the NBA Finals for the first time, bless you, Tanner, since 2012 after they emphatically beat down the Minnesota Timberwolves last night. It was so bad that at the end of the first quarter, gentlemen, the Minnesota Timberwolves had scored a grand total of 9 points at the end of one. They were down 26-9 at the end of one, and it was pretty much over from there.
So lopsided that I didn't get to win my sleeper pick.
Oh, no. What was it?
Well, I needed Ant to get 20. He got 19.
Yikes.
Jalen Williams, 20. He got 19.
Oh, man. man.
Why didn't you just pick 19 for both of them?
I should have.
Yeah, that's clearly
that's on me.
I like an hour before the game, I was talking to somebody about what was going to happen, and I was like, I really feel like they're both getting 19. If you just tapped into this source of knowledge, but you so really do.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it's arrogance.
Yeah, it is. My hubris. My own hubris is the source of my downfall. What Chris Finch said after the game was very interesting. You need multiple ball handlers. You need multiple playmakers to win in this league. Now, kind of shots fired at his own guy, Mike Conley. Don't ever say a bad word or imply a bad thing about Mike Conley, you big jerk. I love that guy.
Mike Conley can stick up for himself. We'll just say some mean words to get a technical, right?
No, actually. He's always very pleasant and polite and considerate.
Okay, he's a multi-time sportsmanship award winner.
Yeah, the dude is the best.
He's like the nicest guy.
But what he said is very true. You need Minnesota's offense for the same reason that the Mavs were able to beat them in the conference final last year. What were we saying? We're like, it's just kind of predictable. It's Ant at the top of the key. He's going to throw himself at the rim, make him pass. They don't have the best shooters in the world, and they got some bigs, Gobert, that you're not necessarily super worried about him creating his own shot or anything. He's still on the team. Randall's up and down, especially in the playoffs. Like, I'm just not too worried about that offense. And, they did not correct that over the summer.
No, they didn't. They lose last night 124-94 in a 30-point beatdown. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, your Western Conference Finals MVP. The Thunder become the fourth team in NBA history to collect at least 80 wins before reaching the NBA Finals. Of course, they went 68-14 during the regular season and 35-6 at home. How about this? Do you know how many teams they lost to the East this year?
Between 2 and 40.
How about one?
One.
They lost one game.
Oh, the Thunder.
Cavs, right?
That's right.
They lost to the Cavaliers. That is the only game that they lost to the Eastern Conference this year. Pretty staggering to think about the numbers that this team has put, the historical numbers.
Yeah, they lost so far this year. They've lost 20 games or something. 3 to the Mavs and 5 to the Nuggets. Including the playoffs, and otherwise they just destroy everybody else.
They've beat down literally everyone else this year. So the Oklahoma City Thunder back in the NBA Finals, as we mentioned, for the first time since 2012, when that team featured, of course, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. We know what kind of careers those gentlemen have gone on to have a new big three taking shape in Oklahoma City with SGA, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren. Oklahoma City will face the winner of the Eastern Conference Finals game number 5 tonight in New York City. Can the New York Knicks stave off elimination as they are hosting the Indiana Pacers after the Pacers were able to win Game 4 after dropping Game 3? They are up 3-1, gentlemen, and I think I predicted yesterday that the Thunder were going to blow out the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think the Knicks are going to have some pride tonight, some Knicks pride. Is going to show up in Madison Square Garden after Pat McAfee was talking trash to Ben Stiller and Timothy Chalamet and Spike Lee. I think the Knicks pride.
I don't think that's going to motivate them at all.
It's just the entertainment value of the portion.
Okay.
I think they should let Chalamet play. Chalamet? What?
What was it? What?
They need to let Chalamet in the game.
Who the hell is that?
Chalamet. I started to say Timothy, and I don't know. I've never
get
Chalamet
in there.
Right.
I've never referred to him only by his last name. But they should let him play. He hoops a lot, I hear.
Oh, really? Didn't I know
him
that?
and Sandler do. They should let Adam Sandler play.
Hey, Tim,
too.
come on DLLS Mavs podcast. Can I call you Tim?
Can the Knicks?
Do you think he's watching right now?
No,
probably.
No, probably not. That is right. Ray Jack wins. Karl Anthony Towns is questionable with a knee contusion going into tonight's game. I would fully expect him to play. I don't think he's going to miss tonight's game. Knicks 4.5-point favorite at home. Tip off at 7 p.m. Tim Cato. Do the Pacers punch their ticket to the NBA Finals tonight, or is this series going back to Indiana? What would be on Saturday?
And if you think about the series in the sense of the Pacers have obviously been the better team, and I am certain they're going to win the series, but it game 1 just so easily could have been a Knicks win, should have been a Knicks win, was so improbable. If you kind of look at it in that way, where this is a 3-1 series that should be 2-2, then yeah, I think the Knicks coming back home have a decent chance. I don't like that they started Mitchell Robinson.
I thought they panicked.
I didn't like that at all.
Yeah, I agree.
All of a sudden that now Mitch has to guard Miles Turner, which puts like Cat has been best attacking Turner, and you're not going to get that matchup if Mitchell's out there as well in the starting lineup. And then on the other side, now Towns has to guard a Siakam or somebody else. You're more likely to get him in foul trouble. And I don't like that. I'm not saying, I guess I don't know what starting lineup. Obviously, like the numbers on Josh Hart being in the starting lineup with the core four hasn't been good. It hasn't been working. They needed to make a change. I didn't like Mitchell Robinson being the change. I don't know if it should be Deuce McBride. I don't know if maybe at this point it should be DeLon Wright. Is the best answer.
You want to win? Put DeLon in.
He's the right answer.
Or apparently Landry Shamet, according to Tom Thibodeau, because he put him in front of Deuce McBride the other night.
Yeah, if you want to put Shamet in instead of Josh Hart, I mean Josh Hart still has a role coming off the bench, but yeah, they gotta figure out something from the jump. I think if they keep the same lineup, then I'm taking Indiana to close it out.
Yeah,
if they go back to the Josh Hart lineup. I don't think they'll do that, but I think they might keep the same lineup, and I think that's a loss.
Yeah, the Pacers will win the series, I would imagine. Whether it's tonight or Game 6, they'll win. But there's that video of ESPN's Mike Greenberg saying that Jalen Brunson single-handedly dragged this very average Knicks team to the conference finals. Like, buddy, the one game they've won in this series was because of Cat. And also, how is it very average? The Knicks are really damn good. Like, what do you mean? They won 50 games. I don't know. I love watching the games. I think that a Knicks Thunder final would be good. I think that a Pacers Thunder final would be great. So I'm hoping for that one. But I also I can't watch people talk about these games on national TV. I just can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
The basketball discourse on national shows is pretty gross.
It's been a great series. I mean, Knicks Pacers has been a really, really fun series. Thunder Wolves was pretty disappointing, but I mean, the Thunder are just that good.
I think it's because the Thunder was just that damn good.
Yeah, I mean, the Thunder Pacers might be really boring too. Like the Thunder are just that good. They're just that good. So maybe it's a White Walker situation where none of this throne stuff matters. All that matters is the army of death coming our way. But yeah, I don't know. It's been a fun series. I kind of hope Knicks Pacers go 7, but I'm also ready for the finals to start. So it's kind of like go Pacers tonight, and let's just get on with it. But we'll
I think
see.
that's more where I lean.
You ready to get to the finals?
Yeah, but I mean, it also doesn't matter. Like the finals are set in stone. They're not moving them up.
They're not?
No. Never happens.
June 5th is the start of the NBA finals.
Yeah, finals are set in stone.
That's what happened last year too. It was like a week.
Yeah, we waited a whole week before the finals started.
No. Well, I mean, because they just put out the memo like Stanley Cup final will start depending on when Star Series. And so I thought they might bump it up a little bit, but
nope. June 5th.
Well, damn, then keep playing. Let's go 7.
June 5th.
But I want to see the best basketball of the season in the finals, and I think the Pacers have to go 7 games while OKC did that. Yeah, I just want to see a cool series.
Yeah.
Fun series. I want to see good basketball.
Regardless,
I think it will be.
Yeah, regardless who wins the series between the Pacers and the Knicks, the Oklahoma City Thunder, by virtue of having the best record in the league, will have home court advantage in the NBA Finals. So we will see what happens tonight. I do think, like I said, the Knicks find a way to get it done at home. It would be quite embarrassing, I think, if the Knicks lose Game 5 in front of what should be a raucous crowd tonight at Madison Square Garden. Meanwhile, Tyrese Halliburton, who has been arguably the biggest breakout star in the postseason with his performances so far in the playoffs, has a chance to end the Knicks season inside Madison Square Garden.
The only team.
Oh, shout out to Jeff Wilson with the $1.99 super chat. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Jeff.
DLS Rangers getting ready to go. In like 40 seconds?
That's right.
Is that so?
Perfect segue. Just slide on over there.
Yeah, just slide on over there. Only team to beat the Thunder in the Shea era in the playoffs, your Dallas Mavericks.
Unbelievable.
Technically, Shea was on the team in 1920 in the bubble, but that was Billy Donovan. That was Chris Paul. That was a different team.
1920?
In the 1920 season.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Not the 1920s.
Yeah. You don't remember the 1920 playoffs?
Come on, man. Like, jeez.
The Billy Donovan coached Thunder?
By the way, happy birthday to our guy Jeff Kavanaugh on the DLLS Cowboys show. Happy birthday to our guy Jeff. Hopefully he has a fantastic day. Appreciate our guy Tanner making us look good and sound good as always. Thank you, sir. We will be back tomorrow at 12 p.m. right here on the DLLS Mavs podcast to finish up our week. That is our Mavericks analyst, Bobby Krell. That is our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato. I'm your host, Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 12 p.m. right here on DLLS Sports. Y'all be good. We'll talk to you later. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.